Welcome back to another episode of the Alex and Mo podcast, and it's part two. So Alex is continuing to enjoy his vacation, having a nice cigar. He's outside enjoying the nice Tampa weather. It's chilly here in Maryland, where Raphael and I are. So
Yep.
we kind of envy
What's
him.
chili? What's chili?
Well,
Uh,
earlier it started off at like 50 something, 60, but it got as high as like 72, I believe.
So what is it like
Um,
right now at night? Like 40s, 50s?
no, it's probably
it's
like
about
in
63.
the 60 something, yeah, low 60s
Yeah,
now.
See,
it's about
it's starting
63.
to get hot here, man. Like we middle of the
You're
day.
you're already you're already getting a ton and everything too, which is
Oh,
good.
we're in that summer weather now. Like it's
Okay,
April, about to be May. You know, Memorial Day around the corner. It gets hot. Like
it gets hot.
it it's 80s, mid 80s, but it feels like we're in the 90s. Nighttime right now, it does feel pretty good. It's not super hot, but I can manage to be here because I got screened in by the pool. But you start going out
Yeah,
there, and the mosquitoes take over.
reminds me of back home. Let's
Yeah,
not
exactly. That's
talk
exactly
about.
what it is. That's like somewhere in the Caribbean, Trinidad, Colombia. Don't
Right,
matter.
right.
So last time, when we were closing off, Alex, you and Raphael were comparing owning a business to like raising kids, starting off from like a baby, going through the toddler stage, and Raphael, you talked about the adolescent stage. One of the scariest things for small practice owners or business owners is knowing when to scale or when to hire. Raphael, can you touch on how that experience was for you and how you knew about it and how you navigated that process?
Learning how to scale, well, deciding when to scale for me
Mm-hmm.
was the first time I did it, admittedly, I did it kind of haphazardly, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just decided I was going to do it. I'm like, I'm just going to do it. This is what's happening. And I didn't do all of my research like I should have. Back then, um, there was some development going on in the area, which has now just come to fruition. There was a new hospital being built. There were new homes being built. There were so many different things that were supposed to happen circa 2014. So that's when I decided to go open up a new location so I could be on that wave and kind of catch all of that development. But you know, even though we're in Maryland, we still have a lot of politics like DC and things like that. So politics got in the way, and then also, a lot of the things that were supposed to happen never happened. They're just now happening now, and that clinic has been open for 10 years. So I still stuck with it, even though the first 2 or 3 years were very light. But knowing when to scale, what I would advise is really getting tapped into the areas, to the businesses and the business community in that area, finding out, okay, well, what's this area going to look like in 5, 7, 10 years? And then deciding where I want to place my business based on what the demographics are now, and then what the demographics are going to be in the next, again, 5, 7, 10 years. If the demographics that are there now can support you, then it's good to kind of go now and then wait for the wave to come to kind of carry you up. So that was my decision the first time I decided to go from one clinic to two.
So right
So
now, you said that.
going from one clinic to the second one, you had to look at hiring, right?
Yes, yes.
So what qualities did you look for in a therapist besides having a license for them to continue what you were known for, like quality care and being in the community and stuff like that? What qualities did you look for in a therapist to hire?
That's a that's a complicated question, and it's only complicated because what you're asking me is to look. What you're assuming is that I was smart enough to think about that back then. Um, honestly, back then I was not smart enough to think like that. And just like he said, just like you said in the open, you were comparing it to uh like raising children. So my business is 14. Okay,
Hmm.
it's gonna be in this iteration is 14. So 14, you know a few things. You can kind of take care of yourself for the most part. You don't need somebody always behind you. But at 4, yeah, I wasn't I wasn't making great decisions at 4. Um, when I first hired, I was like, listen, I need to first get the people in. I need to first make sure that I have enough people to sustain it. But so what I was doing, I was kind of splitting my time. So I hired a PTA at my first location, and what I would do is I would go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. She fantastic, fabulous PTA. One of my really good friends that I met through working with them and being around them. I will always be indebted to her. She was like foundational to help me start my business and kind of grow it. She was fantastic. Patients loved her, and I knew that I could trust her because that was probably the best hire. And she was my PTA directly when we only had one location. So I knew that if I just did the evaluation, did the progress notes, she could handle a lot of she could handle the workload as far as the treatment and that sort of thing. And then I would go over there if I had any evals, I would do that. And I did that off and on for about a year and a half before I even hired my first person.
So when you hired that first person, was your thought, I'll take, somebody who on paper and when I meet them looks what I'm looking for, regardless of how long they've been doing it? So new grad within, younger than 5 years in the profession, or were you looking for like a seasoned vet? Is that something that even crossed your mind?
At that moment, not necessarily. I was thinking more, okay, so there's upside and downside of either side of that coin. So if you have somebody who's seasoned, if they come from certain types of organizations, they are not going to they sometimes have they sometimes struggle integrating into how you want to do things. So let's say if they came from one of the big box places, they're used to high volume and running and having a tech and seeing 25 people a day, and it's like, no, 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 that's not what we do here. We're not doing that. Okay. My baseline for new grads is like 10 to 12. And even in my base, so I use that same baseline when I bring in somebody who's new to the organization, even though they are seasoned, because I need to see what they can do first. So I use that same baseline. Um, the upside on the other side of having a new grad is they're fresh. They don't have a whole lot of preconceived ideas necessarily about what work is supposed to be. If they come in with the right mindset, they're there to learn, and it's your job to make sure to leave your imprint on them to show them how your or how you want your organization run.
So does your clinic take students?
Oh yes, we take students. We try to take them year round, but generally, we get them more in the. I don't know what it is. I say winter. We generally get them in the winter. So we
Okay.
usually get them in January and February. I don't know what the cycle is. That's been our cycle lately. We try to get more in the summer and that sort of thing, but lately we've been getting them. They'll start in January and be done in March, which helps. I mean, if they're third year, that's perfect because then all right, you just with us. Now we can hire you. But we take students from all over. I mean, I've had students from George Washington, Tennessee State, Florida A&M, Howard, of course, Hampton, of course. I mean, we've taken students from all over, and we've had a mixed bag. We've had some really good students,
Mm-hmm.
and we've had to fail some students.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that we were failing students because we just wanted to be mean. it was a situation where we realized that some of those students were not prepared to either move on or especially not graduate. Um, I have a great story about that. There's a guy who I was working with, and he couldn't tell me the difference between Guillain-Barré and ALS. He couldn't give me the, and at that level, at a third year level, you should be able to do that without question. And we had gone over module after module, and we worked with some neuro patients. We worked with patients that had those diagnoses, and he still couldn't get it. And it's not the fact that, okay, well, he's lost, or he's just not ready yet. And so anybody who's under the sound of my voice, anybody who's a student who's had a setback, anybody who's having trouble with their boards or whatever it is, whenever you have an issue, always remember yet at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't passed my boards yet. I haven't been able to learn to master this concept yet. So it's not a period, it's a comma. So just be ready for, to be able to fight through, learn new things, um, look at things a different way, and try to what would Dr. Chesbro used to say, integrate your knowledge. You have to be able to integrate your knowledge.
Yes. So since you take students, we're gonna go back to that story that you shared about having to fail students, because I am a CI as well too, and I know Alex has taught students, and sometimes it's a challenge to knowing that the finances that are involved to want to fail, but you have to be honest with them and give them good feedback, honest feedback. But what qualities can a student show a CI while they're at their clinic or at a hospital or a nursing home that will make them potential hires upon graduation?
When I look at any student that's coming to me, either that I'm interviewing or they have worked for us, I really want to work with somebody who's interested in the work. I think we spoke last week, and I said, some people think they're better than the work. You can't believe that you're better than the work, okay? Um, and all of the work, not just manual therapy or exercise prescription or doing evaluations or managing modalities and patient care. No, I'm talking about your documentation. I'm talking about uh, interfacing with families, dealing with difficult patients, the people who ask me a lot of questions of how to overcome hurdles, people who ask me questions about what would I do. That shows a genuine interest in the profession, not just quote unquote passing the affiliation or passing the rotation. You have to have a genuine interest in what you're doing. And one of the red flags is that when people are only interested in one part of the profession, that makes me want to run. That makes me literally want to run the other way. They'll say, "Oh, well, I really want to go into physical therapy, but I only want to do sports. I really want to go into physical therapy, but I only want to do neuro, or I only want to do peds, or I only want to do, you fill in the blank." Now, I understand that this can be your favorite, but you cannot forsake neuro if you're going with sports. That doesn't make any sense. Because if you have somebody with a sports injury, there's going to be a neurological aspect to that injury that you're going to have to overcome and treat. If
Mm-hmm.
you only want to work with pediatrics,
There's a little bit of neuro in every patient
there's a
population.
little neuro in everybody. And not only that, but the lessons that you teach from the lessons that you get from neuro are also some of the same things you use in peds and vice versa. Because if you talk about somebody who's had a stroke, you have to go through, okay, you have to know what those what the active passive reflexes are. You have to understand all of those things because all of that is baseline, developmental things that they have to be able to do. So you can't forsake part of your practice just because you have a certain specialty. I have a colleague of mine, and she's a speech therapist. She calls me all the time, and she's like, "I need a PT brain on this." She works in peds. She works in the school system. She'll say, "I need a PT brain. Tell me what this is." And she'll show me a picture, or she'll, read the diagnosis. I'm like, "Oh, they're at this milestone, this level. They're doing this, this, and that. They should be doing that." She's like, "Perfect. That's what's going on with this person." Now, this is a speech therapist that wants to know about PT to be able to help her client who is just doing speech. She's only charged with doing speech for this client. So that's the kind of, when we talk about integrative knowledge, that you want to bring to the table, as far as being a complete practitioner. And segmenting it can sometimes limit you in your practice.
What is your philosophy, approach, whatever words you want to use when it comes to talking money? Right. So you've got your person that you're interviewing, or we can talk about, the student that's finishing up and you're thinking about potentially transitioning them from a student role to being a part of your team. What is your philosophy? What is that conversation like when you have this? I think we touched on this, last week, but it was funny because this past week after our last episode, I had an interaction with what I'm assuming is a younger therapist, and I apologize to this individual if I'm false in my assumptions, but their comment was that as a doctorate physical therapy, they should be making six figures, expected, not up for debate. Like, should we? But we should, right? So I brought up the question. I said, why do you feel like why is it an expectation? And the answer that I was given was, well, we've got a doctorate degree. We've done this work. And I said, well, I don't know that necessarily equates to six figures. Then I had another individual, respected individual, somebody we're actually trying to get on this show at some point in the future. And he mentioned, well, other doctorate degrees, not in the PT world, they can go out and make six figures out the jump. So why can't we do it as a profession? So a lot of mixture in there, but something for you to address, like how you approach that, and then your thoughts on that subject.
Oh, that's a wonderful question for us to have. I think we should have it more long form in general. But one thing that is never going to change about me specifically, I live by a very, very simple philosophy: set your price and live your life. This is what I'm paying. If this is what, and I'm going to pay you fairly. I'm not gonna cut you down. I'm not gonna, because I know what you're worth. Okay, I know. I see your worth. I know many times as an employer, I see your worth, and I know you're worth more than you do. So for you saying, "Oh, six figures," you may be shorting yourself. But again, don't ever forget the word "yet." You may be worth six figures, but you ain't worth it yet. You're still very raw as a clinician. You're not somebody who I can turn over somebody with multiple issues, complex issues, and you can masterfully deal with the patient, their complexity. You can talk to the doctors and not say the wrong thing. You can talk to their family and not say the wrong thing. You can talk to the billing company and not say the wrong thing. You can handle an audit. Okay. Right? You can talk to a device manufacturer and get the right device for them. That's when you can do that, then we can talk $100,000. Once you can do that, that means that you are a master at your craft. There are therapists who have been working for at least a decade, and they're just now getting to $100,000. Not 120, not 130, not 150, $100,000. Also, math is a thing. Reimbursement is going this way. So how can salaries be expected to go this way? It's just not a reality. So what you have to do is sit down, talk about it mathematically, and sometimes people don't like that, but what I do is I have levels and tiers in my organization. So you're level 1, this is your salary range. You're level 2, this is your salary range. You're level 3, this is your salary range. And it's like I just set my price. This is what it's going to be. You're going to see this many patients. You're going to have this level of responsibility. These are the things you're going to be expected to do if you're a practitioner from 0 to 3 years. If you're a practitioner from 4 to, let's say, 4 to 7 or 4 to 8, this is what I'm going to expect from you. From 9 to 12, this is what my expectations are for you. If you're above that level, once you finish all of our core competencies, because we have core competencies inside of our organization. So if you're doing outpatient ortho, dry needling, manual therapy, all of those skills have to be, and there's a list more. So if you're there from 0 to 12, let's say to 0 to 5, you should have gotten all those things. So now we can sit at the table and now we can negotiate about how much more money that you should get. But that's after you're skilled. You're coming raw and saying, I want to, perfect example. You're in college. You're the hot college player playing basketball. You're hooping. All right. You get drafted to the NBA, but you want to get paid like LeBron James. Technically, you are in the NBA.
I'm gonna let you finish, but we don't hit a hot topic that I think we can tie in here. But go ahead.
You are in NBA, okay? You are here. You are right. You are on the Lakers. You are a draft pick, okay? You are a lottery pick, but you're not a supermax guy. So go sit there, look. Go take your your rookie salary, play it out, and then when you get to the end of your rookie deal, then we can renegotiate either max. You're still not super max. We can maybe negotiate a max deal for you. That's exactly how I approach it. So when I say 0 to 4, if you look NFL, NBA, that's what it is. 0 to 4. After your 4th year, do we want to pick up your 5th year option?
but using that example though, right? So it is the market comparable in the sense like, okay, if we're going to use the basketball example, I mean, if you a number 1 pick, you coming out making what I'm going to say is life-changing money. You're not making super max money, but you're not struggling, right? Okay. Can we agree on that for the most part?
We can agree on that.
So, but for a new grad, they come out, even if they're this wonder therapist, they're still not making that money, right? Which is kind of the whole argument, like people want to have about Caitlin Clark.
Well, can I interject here? No?
Go right ahead.
There are exceptions for every rule. So you could come out as a new grad working for an organization, but to be selected number 1, you have to be bringing something special to the team. You have to be the top caliber player. You have to be attractive to that market, so they know if they draft you, people are going to want to come to the game. You might get endorsement deals. So there's extra stuff to come with it. So if you're a new grad and you want a 6-figure salary when you graduate, Are you going to help that clinic be marketable? Are you going to contribute to it? As Raphael said, are you going to learn like billing stuff, being able to help with the front desk for any issues? Again, you have to prove your worth, because the money that a clinic could be spending on advertising, marketing, or recruiting, if you can contribute to that, hey, that money spent could go towards you, could go towards your salary. So think about ways to diversify and not just think like, oh, I graduated with it's a freaking it's an expensive piece of paper, yes.
Yeah.
But again, it's a piece of paper. What sets you apart as the number one draft pick?
And the problem with a lot of people when they talk about doctorates, right? So let's compare. Because I know you guys talk about sports a lot when we go through this a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say physicians
Mm-hmm.
are Major League Baseball. Those contracts ridiculous. $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. What does Shohei Ohtani got? I can't even remember.
500 million or something like that.
$500 million. Okay.
Don't even talk about European soccer.
100% guaranteed. Okay, 100% guaranteed. Meaning, when he signs his name on the dotted line, he's gonna get that money. Sweet deal. Okay. Then you have the NBA guaranteed contracts, sweet money. But if you go down to the NFL, a little more complicated, right? A little more complicated. So when people say doctorates, all doctorates, unfortunately, they're just not created equal. So I know you may say, well, I'm doctoral level this, or I'm doctoral level that. Those three examples I gave, they're all professional athletes. They're all at the top of their games. They're all, have proven themselves to be a commodity in whatever area that they're in. But all things aren't created equal. Football makes a ton of money. Football is actually the most marketable, but it's also the most dangerous and the most perilous. So they're not going to, invest a whole ton of money in somebody whose career could be here today, gone tomorrow. So I can understand that. But when you look at something like Major League Baseball versus basketball versus whatever, it's just going to be a different thing. You just can't say, well, I have a doctorate, so I should be making this. There are teachers that have doctorates. Okay, there's all types of people who have doctorates, but they don't necessarily mean they're going to make six figures or even high six figures. The thing about our profession is it has a high floor and a low ceiling. And that's where people kind of get lost in, right? So they're like, okay, well, I can come out and make $80,000, $85,000 or $90,000. But the ceiling for most people who I know is going to be in the maybe 110 range. So that means if you come in at 80 to 85 and your ceiling is 110, you got about a $25,000 window for potentially 30 years of your career. So, you see what I mean? It's about 30 years of your career. So at about in 10 years, you're going to be priced out of most everybody's market. As far as your marketability is going to be priced out.
So, as a private practice business owner, can you make money in outpatient physical therapy? Is my first question. And then the second question is, where do you see outpatient physical therapy 5-10 years from now?
So yes, you can make money in outpatient physical therapy without, and also let me make this caveat, without compromising care, without compromising ethics, without turning your business into a mill. You can do that. You can make a living, but the days of making a killing without compromising that way, it's over. The days of making a killing are over. My margins aren't great. My margins aren't like, I'm not walking away with, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. Some years I actually take a loss to provide those services. But like in business, it's always going to be up and down. And anybody who's thinking about striking out and starting their own business and doing anything like that, it's not all, upward trajectory. It's some years you're gonna, be upside down. There's some years you're gonna lose $30,000, $40,000. There's some years that's going to happen, but you have to get up, regroup, take a look at some things, revamp, whatever it is, and come back. And the next year you can make 80, 90, whatever, 100 on top of your salary that you paid yourself that year. As a part of your other question, where do I see it in 5 to 10 years? I see it. I see it. I see it 10 years. Because she asked me 20 years the other day. In 5 to 10 years, I don't. I see. I see that. I see that AI is really coming. Is really coming. It's on its way. I can see models, and I can see modes of treating people that are not for minor things that are not going to need a therapist. What we forget is that our expertise in differential diagnosis is just an algorithm. You do this test, okay, you rule out this, rule out that. All that is an algorithm. If a patient comes in and they list their symptoms, they list how certain movements that may cause pain, lifting, pushing, pulling, and they enter that into a questionnaire, I'm assuming that in the next 5 to 10 years, once all of that gets loaded up into an algorithm, once your differential diagnoses coupled with MRIs and all of that gets to someone's data server and all that gets sifted through, some of your more simple diagnoses are going to be, oh, here's your exercise sheet, here's a so and so, this is exactly what it is, keep it moving. So our value to the client has to go up. Our value, so no more sprains and strains, that's going to be out the window. If you're not outpatient orthopedics, if you're not dealing with more complex and comprehensive things that really require human interaction, in the next 5 or 10 years, I believe there's going to be a movement away from some of the, what I would say, the low-hanging fruit in rehab.
How much of the outpatient, the private practice world, because of what your thoughts are with AI and algorithms, how much of the private practice world do you think doesn't make it because of that?
A lot.
That's a good question. One thing I know about systems in general, because we are part of the healthcare system, systems resist change and systems are resilient. So I think that the ones that are really built to do this as a business, if you're an independent, standalone, if you're really the type of person that's built to do this, you'll find a way to make money. You'll be innovative. You'll be creative. You will streamline, become lean, do the things you need to do to be sustainable, and then also find growth within that niche and be able to flourish. The ones that aren't truly built for it, the ones that are in it specifically for the money or for the aesthetic or for the clout, they're going to be gone because it's just not going to be worth it. The work they're going to have to do to level up in their eyes. We touched on this a little bit in the last segment. Is uh, there are people who are in it just for the aesthetic. They're in it just for what I look like. I have a doctorate. I am I'm doing this. I'm doing that. But they're not really sold out for the profession. They're not really sold out to be a business owner. They're not really sold out to really help the community. Those type of things keep you in the fight, even when things are difficult. But if you're only doing it for those superficial things, yeah, that's going to wash a good amount. Like Monique said, a good amount is going to be washed away, a large amount.
Yes, most definitely, because people empower themselves, and they're gonna find ways to. I mean, look, you have Google MD and all of the stuff people go on. They tell you, look, I looked this up before, and so forth and so forth. But again, service delivery, that special touch, human interaction, that is what is gonna set you apart. You can't get that with AI, and a lot of people crave that. I see it especially in the home health setting. I haven't done outpatient in a while. It's been wow, 12 years. But one of the things that people come into, if you're passing off patients to a tech or whomever, again, as you said, low hanging fruit. If you're a male training people over and over, low hanging fruit, you're not gonna survive this new wave. I just know it. But yeah. So Alex, that's my contribution to your question.
Oh, see, I've for a long time have felt that outpatient is an unstable surface right now. I feel that because of, as you mentioned, reimbursements are heading down, the cost of doing business, the expectations of people's salaries, cost of living is going up while those things are going down. So eventually something's got to give, right? So what does that business owner do? Do they now have to downsize? Do you have to go from 2, 3 clinics to maybe just back to one? Do you have to now run more of like a skeleton crew? It to me as an outsider, I got no skin in the outpatient game. Uh, it's a little bit nerve wracking. So I can only imagine what it must feel like, possibly for somebody like you or any other business owner, where this time frame where things are just getting a little bit rockier. We're unable to generate this revenue without compromising. Because if you compromise, you can start to kind of do some things, but you're selling your soul to get this, right? So how do you plan for these things? Like, is this something that you're looking forward to say, hey, this needs to happen by this time, and if it doesn't, we need to figure out how we're going to pivot? Is that something that goes into your thought process?
Yes and no. So it's a mixed question. Alex, you play golf, right? From
Yeah.
time to time, you play. Um, when you see a sand trap, or you have to hit over a sand trap, do you think about the sand trap?
I try not to.
He's being honest.
Right? That's an honest answer. The way I look at it in any issue or problem in my business is the sand trap, right? I think, okay, it's there. I know it's there, but I don't have to deal with it until I'm in it. If I focus all my energy on thinking about it, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to end up in it because that's where all my energy and my focus is. If I focus on hitting it onto the putting surface and getting it, then that's where I'll end up too. So yes, it is is ever changing and ever moving. But one thing that I have a deeply abiding faith in is my ability to meet whatever challenge comes up. Because there's always going to be a challenge in every business. There's businesses in outpatient that challenges outpatient. There's challenges in home health. There's challenges in any area of entrepreneurship. There's going to be daily, day-to-day challenges. But what we have to make sure that we do when we are um, when we're making plans or doing that, they're always in those things always in the background, but we have to focus on what our goals are. So what I do with my team is I set like, all right, these are our goals for the week, the month, the year. Right now, our goal is to take everybody to Bahamas next year for our annual first quarter event. Everybody goes to the Bahamas. We're gonna leave Thursday, come back on Sunday.
Hey,
I,
how
I'm,
do I
I'm
sign
gonna
up?
seek. I'm gonna seek temporary employment.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. Me too.
Right.
I could be the Tampa branch.
There you go. So the only thing we're focused on is, but we're not focused on that big thing in the sky. We're not focused on that big goal. What I have them do is hone in on today. If you hit your goals today, and then you hit your goal tomorrow, and you keep doing that day after day after day after day, we'll get there. But if you focus on the big thing, the big abiding, the big huge goal, or if you focus on the thing that we can fall into, or the trap, or the way we can get messed up, either the goal is going to seem too far away, or the challenge to your stuff is going to seem way too close, and you're going to end up falling into it. So even though it is a challenging environment, it's also a rewarding environment, and you have to be very creative on different ways to offset any of the issues of reduction of reimbursement, and then increases in salary. And what I would say honestly with the salary part is just increase the salaries.
So I talked to a lot of owners, private practice owners,
Mhm,
and some have mentioned, because as you said, we have a very low ceiling,
mhm,
but a high floor.
mhm,
Besides the decreasing reimbursement, now you're having a decrease in admissions into PT programs. So a lot of people are asking, where are the therapists? And even with new grads, most of them only spend maybe 5 years in the profession. So they don't even wait out that 10 to 20 years to get to the six figure. They leave to go somewhere else in hopes of making a six figure, or they get burnt out. So Alex is gonna come back in shortly.
okay.
So the advice that I try to give is to be patient. Okay. Jeff Bezos, before Amazon took off, spent 9 years not making money. Okay. The same thing with Steve Jobs. So all these people that were successful, who are successful now, had to be patient as they continue to build. And as you said, with business ownership, it could go up and down. I mean, I've had years where it was plentiful and years where I broke even.
Mhm,
Some years I wanted to be like, look, I'm done. This is a waste of my time. I could go
mhm.
work somewhere else and as you said, make a living. But um, I'm in it for the fight, and I know why I'm in it, so I'm staying with it. But what advice would you give to owners who are struggling because they can't find PTs to come work for them? There's
Okay.
another caveat to that too. Since most people say that our patient setting is dying, and more
Mhm.
people are starting their own like mobile stuff
Yeah,
to go to people, because COVID definitely taught us something. You don't have to have four walls to provide physical therapy.
you don't.
What advice, being like a community person and leader, what peer-to-peer advice would you give to owners who are struggling with those things?
Okay, so that's a multi-tiered question. I'm gonna try to get to every tier,
Take
but
take your time. Take your time.
I want to
As
make
Alex finds his room.
oh God, I want to I want to say something about the six figure thing first.
uh
That is a vanity metric.
Six figures. Okay.
It's a vanity metric.
Hmm.
Yes, inflation is bad. Okay. Yes, students have a ton of student debt. I understand that too. But if you are making, let's say, $85,000 a year versus making $100,000 a year, is that going to drastically? I'm not gonna say it's not gonna drastically change your lifestyle. I don't want to be that myopic. But
Hmm.
why people are driving at that number is because again, it's a vanity metric. It just sounds good. Make six figures. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. It's a vanity metric. It's not something where it's like, for those of us who have made that number, for a number of years, your life is not transformed by it. As a matter of fact, if you don't have anything to write off, if you don't have any other strategies as far as tax strategy and other things like that, you might as well have not even made that money. Because Uncle said, look, if you're making $100,000, you
You're
don't have
right.
tax shelters, you don't have a home, you don't put any money in investments. Uncle Sam is coming for about 40% of that.
You're right. You're
40%
right.
of that. So if you want to make 100,000, you make a 62. Whereas if you made 85, guess what else? Guess what you're making? Probably 62. The same amount is what you're taking home. So that extra 15,000, you just giving that to Uncle Sam. You're not even doing anything with it. Um,
Alex and Mo recommend you get an accountant.
you gotta get an accountant, and you have to
Yep.
do what I would tell people is to stop doing tax preparation and start doing tax planning. You have to have a plan with regards to your taxes. That's if you're a W-2. That's if you're a 1099. That's if you're an independent contractor. That's if you're an entrepreneur that has multiple employees. You have to have a tax plan. Going back to what Monique was saying about individuals deciding that they're going to go and do things in other people's homes. The entrepreneurship or owning a business is different from owning a job. Owning a
Very true.
business is different from owning a job. Owning a job means that you are now the service provider, you may have a biller, you have to do collections, you have to book transportation, you have to get your car. If you're driving around, you got to have, you got to take care of your car, you got to take care of your gas and maintenance. You have to take drag equipment with you. You have to have an electronic medical record or some type of thing that you have to put in. You have to pay a biller. You have to have insurance specifically for going into people's homes. Some people are still just doing the normal, $200 thing from HPSO and living their life. It's like, no, 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 no. You have to have something specifically for independent contractor in the home, specifically. And if you're a small business, you also have to have business insurance through another entity, not just malpractice insurance, but business insurance. Because if you're on your way driving your car and you hit somebody and you're in the commission of business, you can get different, you can be sued not only individually, but as the business too. All of this is things that people don't consider. And once you sit down and run the numbers of all the you might have grossed $150,000 that year. But all the money that it took to make that $150,000, unfortunately, I'm sorry, and I don't know who your advisor was in Goldman Sachs,
Mhm.
but they'll tell you once most people sit down and really do the cost of it all, they need to just get a job because once you're working, I mean, you're working what? You go from working 40 hours a week to working 65 hours a week to make $110,000 when you could have just worked your full-time job and then got a part-time somewhere in the afternoon, work for another 3 hours and made the same money and not have, IRS breathing down your back, state tax people breathing down your back. You have to really count the cost of what you're doing.
Yep.
Because a lot of people say, well, I made so and so. It's not about what you cop, it's about what you keep.
That's true.
It's
There's
not
there's a
about
hu- there's a huge difference.
what you cop
Um.
and what you keep are two different things. And if the bottom line number, not your top line number, if your bottom line number of how much you're bringing home is less than what you would make having a job, go get a job. And that's no matter how you driving around. I understand the freedom, I understand all of that. But everybody can understand simple math or the baseline number when they're negotiating their salary. But they have this emotional attachment about it when you really look and say, hey, your business that you think is, making $200,000, when we go down to the bottom line, you netted $80,000. That's not a good use of your time. That's a reality for a lot of people who are small business owners, single member LLCs. They're just not cutting it. They're just not. When you own a business, you are not the person that should be doing the work long term, because eventually you're going to burn out. It's only one you. When you get sick, you don't make money. If you crash your car in your mobile business, you're not making money. Snowstorm, not making money. You get a whole bunch of you get a whole bunch of cancels in a day, not making money.
That's definitely true.
Look, she like, yeah, you know.
No, it is true. But one of my advisors too, and there was one in particular who made our entire cohort almost cry. But you don't. I know you know who I'm talking about, but we're not
Yes,
gonna call names here.
yes, we're not gonna call it names.
Alex, was brutal, man. Man, I was like,
Man.
F this. But
We still talk to this day, and every now and then she'll say something to make me feel. I'm feeling like I'm the big man. I got it all together. She'll make me feel this big. Like that was so. It was between his nose on my face, and I just couldn't see it. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, if your business cannot survive without you, you really don't have a business. And if you are the brains, the hands, the heart, legs of your business, no, you don't really have a business that's gonna scale or survive. And that's just reality. I had to laugh because I remember there was a mentor that I had, one similar to the place where you and I worked at when we had first just gotten out of school. When she mentioned to me that when I start making more money in that six-figure range, my tastes are gonna change, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna still rent an apartment, drive around this beat up old Honda Civic. Man, that quickly changed after the accountant said, oh, you don't have anything to write off. So it took you to a different tax category. So Alex, that's when I looked into purchasing my first home and everything like that, because I wanted to cry. I was like, what? It was a lot. So yes,
it really gets you. It really gets you. But what I want to make sure that I leave young people who are looking at going into business and doing things like that is that your business can springboard you into doing other things. You don't have to just be a PT. If you have other interests, if you have other things you want to do, you can use this as a platform to build to number first of all, to make money, to achieve some sort of status and that sort of thing, and then branch off into other things. Who is that? Mr. Malone, Chad, Dr. Malone.
Yeah.
He just loved doing MMA, loved doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He just opened up a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu studio, and that's what he does pretty much full time. Okay, because that's just what he wanted to do. It doesn't have to be that, I'm a PT, I have to be a PT for the rest of my life. This is what I have to do. You can take the lessons you learn in this profession and branch out. I do, full disclosure, I own real estate, now, and I manage real estate. I do some business consulting and things like that for people who really want to do the business and work through it. I have a clothing line. So I have a whole lot of different things that I'm doing, but it's not because, my business is, I'm bored doing my business. It's just things that I've always been interested in. So I work to the point where where the money coming in is enough, not where the money is coming in as well. I got a BMW and I got a big old palatial house. And if you have those kinds of tastes, it's never going to be enough money. It's never going to be enough. And I'm not trying to, crap on nobody who has a BMW, because some people, some people. But one thing I'm going to say is, heard some really good advice. Have one vice. Whatever your vice is, have that one thing. Whatever that one thing is. If you like cars, go car. But don't do cars, watches, shoes, trips, cigars, whiskey. women, men, clubbing. You can't do that because that's going to really mess up, the things you want to set up for your life. And you can switch vices from year to year or time to time.
I was just gonna
Like,
say it change. It could change.
change. It's going to change. My vice used to be sneakers. I was a sneakerhead, love sneakers. That was my vice. And then I discovered golf. Golf is my vice. That's the only thing I'm doing. That's where I'm investing all my money. That's where I'm investing all my time. But that's it. Everything else is as simple as can be. I don't, I've never really been in the cars, never been in the watches, never been in the, a whole lot of other stuff. A lot of times what Monique was talking about, her stuff was for business, but a lot of other people, if you're an employee, don't let lifestyle inflation get you. Because if you're making $90,000, but you're spending 100 every year, in 10 years, you're going to be $100,000 in debt. Don't let lifestyle inflation get you because when I hear somebody say I want to make $100,000 first coming out of school, when I talk about vanity metrics, I think that they believe that that's going to allow them to be, for all intents and purposes, just allow you to be irresponsible with money. I want to make enough money so I can be irresponsible with money. That's what I hear. I want to make enough money so I can be irresponsible with my money.
A lot of zeros needed for FU money.
That's right. And then
So
once I'm responsible with my money, then once I bought the new car and I bought the big house and I got all this stuff, now I got to come back. I need a raise because they're feeling the pressure from the financial mistakes that they made, that the poor financial mistakes they made before. So now they have to jump jobs. And I think that's where so many of us fall into, is that this is my first time making money. I'm going to just spend it and do whatever I want to. I worked hard. I deserve this. And it's like, yes, you're right. You deserve something, but you don't deserve a $500,000 house. You don't deserve a $150,000 car. You don't deserve a $30,000 watch just because you graduated from PT school. It's just
no, great point. I was very lean when I first graduated. I was cheap. That's just that was just my father's side of me. But
right.
eventually, as you said, you figure out your vices. So using that same sports analogy, the NFL realized that on the NBA realized that a lot of their players didn't have much financial planning or financial sense. And they structured that the rookies would get educated on how to manage their finances. I don't think that's available for new grads or PTs in general. And yes,
it
you
is in
go
my
to school.
company. It is in my company. It isn't mine. I literally have a financial advisor who I pay. I'm not going to mention her fee on the line. You can I give all of my therapists 4 hours a year to work with her to do your financial planning every single year. I do. That's my therapist, and then my support staff get 2 hours a year with her that I pay for, and I've been doing this for 6 or 7 years. Ask me how many hours I paid for. Probably about 6 and 7 years.
Because it's something people don't think about. I'm being honest with you, but it's needed because they don't think about the future. They think about now. It's like, hey, I'm getting paid. I'm gonna go take a trip to Bali with my girls and post it on Instagram. No knock at anybody, but it's we're not taught in schools to manage finances. You hear this big talk like we taught about business in PT schools or whatever, but the biggest thing is learning how to balance money.
Oh yeah,
to save,
definitely.
to invest.
Definitely. It's something that they don't do a really good job of doing private practice either, and just talking about all of the things that it takes to have a private practice. I know most professional schools in any way will have a private practice kind of thing and a class, and you'll go through it. It'll probably be a full semester, but it doesn't really get down to the nuts and bolts of what it takes. But then also, you can't start a private practice if you have a 580 credit score. I mean, you're just not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to run your practice if you're bad with managing money and paying bills. If you know, if those just general requisite things that you don't that you need to be a reputable business person you don't have, you're not going to be successful. I mean, I've been in business for like I said, almost over 15 years. I've never missed a payroll. Knock on wood. Never, never missed a payroll. There are times when I didn't get paid, but my staff
Tell me
always
about
got
it.
paid. Oh, yeah. My staff always got paid. The people who I pay rent to always got paid. The mortgage companies always got paid. American Express always got paid, and the bank always got paid. But I was like, well, this month just not a pay month for me, and I just had to lean on my savings. So again, it's just like if you don't save, if you're not a saver, then you don't even have that cushion to be able to weather that storm. So what I would tell people to do, young people, if you're first coming out of school, you're getting your first job, making any good money, sustainable money, 10%, 20% has to go to an account just to save for your first year or a couple of years. Just make it a habit. Don't even say 1 year, 2 years. Just make it a habit. Open up a retirement account right away and just start putting money into that. And take your time and build. You have a lot of runway, barring any, health issues or anything like that. You have quite a lot of runway to get from new grad to business owner to multiple locations to whatever that looks like. And once you get to that level, you're going to realize how little you were asking for a six-figure salary because you've actually decided to have mastery over yourself. You've actually decided to master your profession. You've actually decided to be of use to other people, and that stuff is gonna be way more valuable than $100,000 check. And I know it doesn't really register. They're like, well, I'm, it's better. Believe me, it's better. So take your time. You have a long career. Don't try to max out in day one or year one or year two. Take your time, go into the profession, master it, master yourself, save yourself some money, build it up, and then go on offense, right? And not only that, be great. Be great at your first job. Don't shortchange them because you know you got a plan. Be great. Because if you're not great at the job that you have, you're not going to have that gear to be great for yourself. You develop that with other people.
I definitely agree. Be the person that you want to become where you're at right now. It matters. Know what little you do, just give us your best. It shows because people don't understand what you do with people now. When you own it, it can come back to bite you in the butt. So let me use the right word, Alex, before we get before we get talked about. Um, but in wrapping up, Raphael, and I'm really happy that you've joined Alex and I for the past 2 weeks. It's a good way to close out April. We're not gonna be on next week, and let me give a shout out to my brother-in-law Damien. Happy birthday in advance. He's celebrating I can't say his age, so but um one of the things that I personally had to realize is that my personal development, um, the better I got, the better the business got. So for you, um, how much personal development did you have to do to get your staff to buy in to stuff, get patients to buy in? Because I realized as I got better and more patient and calmer, a lot of things just started falling into place and doors just kept opening up for me. So for you, what personal development stuff that you had to go through or helped you to get to this point 14 years later?
Hmm. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you said that because I was thinking that today and had a conversation with somebody about that
Mhm.
today. And circling back to the metaphor of raising a child or having to be like your baby
Mm-hmm.
is that as you get older, you have to learn to trust yourself
Mm-hmm.
and trust that you're doing the right things. That was the thing that I had to. That was one of the biggest things I had to get past. Is that sometimes when you're running a business, you have like this, these choices that you have to make to hire this person, not hire this person, to do this particular thing and not do it, to take this loan and not do it, to fire this person or to not fire them. And I heard something very powerful, and I will never forget it. The lady said, "Stop trying to make the right choice and make the choice right." I will never forget that because you know when you're making choices, when you walk through one door, you have to leave that other door behind. You can't walk through two doors. Okay? So once you decide what door you're going to walk through, whatever it looks like, you make it the best that you can make it. Make it the best you can make it. Don't don't lament the other door. Don't forget, oh, I saw it was something better. You don't know what was in that door. You only know the door that you walk through. Make that choice your best choice. That was one of the things that I had to uh, let go of and grow into is just understanding that again, I have all of the tools that I need to be able to overcome any obstacle that comes to me. I learned that in my business. I learned that as a parent. I learned that as a golfer. I've learned that in all of those different things. I got all the tools. I don't have to I don't have to have perfect circumstances. I don't have to have a perfect lie. I don't have to have all the money in the bank. All I have to do is have me. I have enough. I have at every level I am. I have enough to be able to beat that level, to get past that level.
Facts. I think that's a great way to end the show. Um, I mean, at the end of the day, if you got to have faith and trust in yourself, and as long as you have that, man, you got a lot of ahead of you that you can accomplish. But you've got to be okay with who you are and what you got, and have faith and trust that it's enough, because more often than not it is. So, man, again, as always, really, really appreciate you taking out time from your busy schedule to be with us again. This was definitely a nice 1-2 punch that we did the last couple of weeks with you. So thank you again, man. Really appreciate your time.
But you know what? Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate the time to kind of just sit here and talk and sharpen my skills and just talk about the my business and the profession I love and talk to with some also get to commune with you guys. You're great. First of all, great PTs, and I know great
Thanks.
podcast hosts. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I promote you guys and make sure that you guys get a ton more, eyeballs on the screen. And I look forward to seeing you
Thank you.
guys grow in the
Appreciate
future.
it.
Appreciate that, man.
Appreciate
Appreciate
it.
it.
And you guys can follow Raphael on Instagram, and what other platform are you on, Raphael?
I'm just on Instagram. I had to leave. I had to leave. I was going to do TikTok, but I was like, they about to get banned. I said, let me go ahead and let me wait and see what Congress says about TikTok. But I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
I'm also on Facebook, and you can follow me at Portera Rehab. And if you just wanted to follow me, it's at new name who this.
So that's his clothing line, I
Hey,
guess.
make sure you get that application to me. I want to be that Tampa branch for that Bahamas trip, man.
Hey man, listen. If I can get down to Tampa, I would love to. I love it down in Florida.
All right. Well, thank you again, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Take care.
All right, see you guys back in May. Take care.
Bye bye, everybody.